Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Stygian depths of the Jacobs estate. We're back with another fly tying session at the request of absolutely no one. Today's session might be closer to an arts and crafts session than true fly tying. We're going to be tying a popper for primarily for smallmouth bass fishing. Again, although it'll also work for largemouth and aggressive panfish. I think that if you were to take a poll of folks who fish who fly fish for bass, the number one favorite method in the answers would be the popper on the surface. It's a highly visual game, an exciting game, and an effective game. There's a good portion of a bass summer diet comes from the surface. There are a ton of good commercial poppers. The leader of the pack these days seems to be the Booglebug, an extremely well made and effective fly. But if you'd like to go another route, if you'd like to make your own, you can create a pretty inexpensive fly using very inexpensive and very commonly available materials. I call the fly that we're going to create today unimaginatively, I call it a cylinder popper. I do that because the material, as you buy it, the basic material, is marked foam cylinders. This is half-inch yellow in this case. These cylinders are available in nearly every color of the rainbow. I tie the fly in black and in white as well as in yellow. I've experimented a little bit with blue as well. And there's some prep, of course, involved in this. We'll get to that. The hook is going to be a Gamakatsu B10S in size 2, a stinger hook. This is going to be a monochrome fly, nothing but yellow, strung yellow marabou in the tail, strung yellow neck hackle to form another part of the tail, saddle hackle. Essentially the strung saddle hackle will be essentially the rear body of the fly. Medium round yellow rubber legs from Rainey's for the legs or whatever, the appendages of the fly, and then we'll finish it off with a pair of 3/16 diameter self-adhesive eyes. So we'll get our hook in the vise, square it up. We're going to be using 2 threads. This is from Uni. It's called Big Fly Fiber, and it's quite a coarse diameter thread. And we'll use that to build bolt quickly, and then we'll be finishing the back half of the fly with Uni 6/0 in yellow. Our first step is to start the thread. We'll start right behind the eye of the hook. We'll cover about half the hook shank, or 1/2 inch in this case, with yellow thread. We'll trim away our tag end, and then just build up some body diameter here. What we're doing, we're making a base for the super glue that we'll use to glue the popper body on. And once we've made a couple of back and forth passes to build some diameter, we'll do it one more time. Forward. We'll spin the thread. And what we're trying to do, we'll make open spirals now, and we've kind of the spinning that thread will kind of cord it up, and we'll have these ridges. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up, but what we're trying to do is just create spaces for that so that you can hold more glue and grab the foam body tighter. We'll whip finish that off. Trim it away. Then, so you purchase the cylinders at 1.5 inches. I'll very carefully section that into 3 half-inch lengths with a razor blade. If you're going to do a lot of them, or if you're uncertain of it, you might have a little bit of soapy water nearby to wet the razor blade. That'll make the cutting go a little bit smoother. Then once you have the 3 half-inch lengths, you can drive a bodkin through the body at about 1/3 the diameter inward. And then as you push that forward, you're going to want to make sure that you're parallel to the axis of the 1/2 inch, and constant in your inward to the diameter of it as well. And then you can spin that a couple of times. What I do once I retract the bodkin is I'll take one of these small nails like you might use to to hang picture frames or something on your wall, and guide that through the hole that I've created to both stretch that out and as kind of a placeholder while I get my other materials ready. And then once you have that, you're ready there. We can take some low viscosity super glue in more than we need by a long shot. If you have too much, and I do, we'll dab away a little bit of that. When I started making these, I thought, well, you're going to want a pretty stout cement there, so I used the heavier viscosity stuff. But what I found out is that the hole in the foam is such that it'll just squeegee that heavy-bodied stuff off, and you don't get as good a bond. That's why the thin diameter. Then we'll push this on. This sets up fast, so once you push it through, you want to quick make sure that you've got good symmetry before it sets up and locks on. We'll give that a moment's rest or so while I clean up the mess on the floor. Then we'll start our 6/0 thread behind that. Cover the balance of the shank. Trim that tag end away. Then our first material is going to be yellow marabou. And you might even have to use a couple of the yellow marabou plumes if the quality isn't satisfactory to you. A lot of this stuff, the feather, it's nearly a formed feather, so rather than, what you want is something sort of fluffy and puffy, and you may not get that. But if you take a couple of them, you'll usually build it up enough to make a presentable looking tail. And the overall length of that tail is going to be kind of the length of the overall length of the hook, I suppose. And we'll lash that down solidly. It doesn't really matter that you've got a little bit of a mess here, because you're going to want some bulk back here so the body doesn't look too skinny. We'll just cover that up with thread. Then once you have that, we have our neck hackle. The neck hackle will always have a pronounced curve to it in two directions, so you can seek through there to get. You'll want this down and out on each side, so you'll need two different curvatures. And then we'll set the length of that at about the length of the tail as well. So we've got that. We can mark that out. Trim away the excess there. Trim away our excess length. Then to tie these on, we're going to want to stroke this outward and get rid of the feather barbules so that we have but you don't want to go right against the shaft of the feather either. These little barbs that you have left will help the thread bite into the feather and keep it in place better. And you're going to want to spend it may take a minute or two to get exactly the right tilt, the right angle that you want on there. I've got that right now. I'm pretty well satisfied with that. Then again, here's a pair for the other side. Again, you've got that curve out and that curve down, and we'll set it about like that. We'll pair them up again. Gauge the length of your side as compared to my side. Pinch that there. Trim the excess feather away. Brush that out. Trim it short. Set those. There we go. That's pretty decent. Then we've got you have to have some kind of the hook is maybe slightly out of proportion, but you have to have the hook point in the gape far enough back so that the body doesn't obstruct that gape, so the fish you can actually get it into its jaw and set the hook. So we'll cover that that bear shank length with some other thing that a yellow saddle hackle that will also provide some life and some wiggle to this thing as we go. We'll strip this back so that we're not incorporating the fuzzy part of this feather. Trim that back. Trim it to length. Again, create those little short barbules with our scissors so that we have something to lock that on with. Tie it in. Then we'll take a hackle plier and use the rotary feature of the vise here to good tight turns forward. You may as well use as much of the length of the feathers you can. Throw the bobbin, the thread over that a time or two to lock it down. Trim off your excess feather. Get in there carefully so that you don't trim any of your working feathers. Take a couple more turns. Then we'll whip finish that as well. I have an extended reach whip finisher so that I can do that. If you don't have an extended reach tool, you can use your fingers to create your whip finish. Trim away that thread. We're done with that. Then, now comes kind of the fun part. We'll take, we want to install our rubber legs. We're going to do that by taking this bodkin, driving it through the body, just above the hook shank, and very near the back of the body. And again, you're going to want to guide this so that you've got a reasonably square and straight setup. Not too bad. Then we'll retract that. This is a bobbin threader, and we're going to use that to pull the rubber legs through the body. If you don't have this style of bobbin threader, but if you've got some fine diameter music wire around, or maybe, I don't know, 12 to 15 pound monofilament even that you can bend over and crease, you can use that as well. We'll put that through the body. We'll take our medium round rubber legs, a pair of them. They're still sort of stuck together here. I don't know how Rainey does that, but it's clever manufacturing. Put them through our loop in the bobbin threader, and just pull that back gently at first, and then once you've got it through, you can pull on the rubber itself until you think that you've got sufficient length. Cut them open. Then, there again, this is a matter of choice for length, I suppose. Maybe as long as 1.5 inches. You can always trim it better to leave them a little long at first than too short. And then match that up on the other side. If it seems to be a little bit out of balance, you can always trim one side a little shorter, or you can tug back and forth to even them up. Then, if they're bonded together a little bit, you can take your bodkin and split them open. All right. Then we're going to go to our eyes. And now we'll use the heavy viscosity, the ultra gel type super glue from Loctite in this case. With just the smallest dot, it doesn't take a lot to do this. And we'll do it on both sides at once. I don't know if you can see a little bead there of glue. Peel away an eye. Again, I think eyes on any fly are just mostly for us rather than for the fish, but still it makes them look cute, doesn't it? We've got one on. There we are. And one other minor trick that I think serves a couple of purposes. If we can open up the hook gate further by getting rid of part of the body. We'll do that at an angle with our razor blade. Be careful so that you don't cut through anything that you've worked hard to bond to the hook shank. Let me trim that away in there. So we've got a little better opening there now for to get the hook into the fish's jaw. But besides that, we've taken a little bit of the mass out of the popper and changed its balance a little bit. So what I've found as I fish these is that at rest it'll tilt back a little bit like this in the water, and then with each tug on the leader, it'll come forward and go forward and then back again. So it sits low like a froggy might in the water. The other thing about that flat face and in this diameter is it's not a terribly loud popper. I think often poppers are too noisy. But then again, I have friends that just hammer them. It sounds percussive and they catch plenty of fish. So it's all up to you. But there we have it, a cheap and fast and I think effective popper for you. That's an alternative to some of the commercial patterns. Again, stay safe, stay well. And with every opportunity you have, please offer your support to your local fly shops and your local guide services during this tough time, all right? Have a good evening. Bye now.